Career-altering injuries have always been one of the worst things in sports. The last thing any fan wants to see is somebody's potential being flushed down the toilet because of an unfortunate injury. As fans, we always talk about what injuries can do to a career, but they can be equally, if not much more damaging mentally.
Hey, do you play basketball?
I used to.
Oh, yes, I can beat you.
Imagine how much it would suck knowing that you had all of these expectations and that you had all of the talent, all of the work ethic, you dedicated your life to this dream, went on to achieve it, and then your body or even your doctors would fail you. Well, this might very well be the case for the former number 2 overall pick and versatile Chicago Bulls point guard Lonzo Ball, who just had his worst injury update yet, but at the same time is trying to do the unthinkable. And we have to get into that. But first, today's content is brought to us by none other than PrizePicks, the guys who have been making sure that we're being entertained for every game this season. For those who don't know, PrizePicks is not only the best way to play daily fantasy, but it's also the easiest way to play daily fantasy in states like California, Texas, Florida, Georgia, and more. PrizePicks is just you against the projections available. And what's awesome is that now you don't have to worry about injuries ruining your lineups thanks to their recently launched NBA Reboots policy. Thanks to Reboots, all full game more picks on NBA players who leave in the first half and don't return will be rebooted. Download the PrizePicks app by clicking the link in the description below and make sure that you use code COOP so that you could get your first deposit instantly doubled.
You were on record talking about put your son on the Golden State Warriors.
Yes.
And put Steph Curry on UCLA.
Yes.
And your son would be, explain how
Right
your son
now.
would be better.
You saying that right now.
Right now.
Now. UCLA wouldn't be where they at.
Play on that team now.
Are you crazy?
Are you saying Lonzo better than LeBron?
Yes.
Bossy.
You lost me on that.
Hey, I'll lose you again. I'll lose you again. You can't go there. LeBron getting older.
Lonzo first entered the league out of UCLA in 2017 with a ton of hype around him. He was drawing comparisons to Hall of Fame players like Jason Kidd and even Magic Johnson. While I was definitely a part of that nasty big baller brand hype machine, I still feel like I was always one of the more logical fans. But maybe I wasn't as logical as I thought, seeing as I did almost buy the shoes.
Big baller, you holler.
I for sure had high expectations for Zoe, but I understood that greatness takes time, and that everybody's path to that greatness looks a bit differently, and they also present it in a different way. I personally feel like I was very rational when it came to ZO2. Everybody else, they really wouldn't be so understanding.
Who's good, Max?
Lonzo Ball. Lonzo Ball is good.
Oh, Lord.
You know,
Glasses are off.
I'm just going to say it, Max. He's starting to scare me.
I'll never forget Magic Johnson drafting Lonzo Ball number 2 overall in 2017 and proclaiming that his jersey will be in the rafters and that the Lakers, they were back.
Tell them to bring me my money.
All while this is going on, his supportive dad is going on media tours, and players like Patrick Beverley and John Wall were placing a target on his back. Now, this might not sound like the worst thing in 2023, but trust me when I say that these guys were problems in their own right back in 2017. ZO2 was a 19-year-old kid who was basically given the keys to one of the most successful franchises in league history. And then in his second year, that same franchise would acquire one of the greatest basketball players to play the game. The pressure was real for Lonzo Ball, who all along was just this fun-loving, super chill, ultra-friendly guy. In Los Angeles, Zoe flashed a lot of potential, but he also had some injury problems. The lower body was not very friendly to ZO2. And remember that unorthodox jump shot which helped him draw Curry comparisons in college? That same jump shot would ultimately hold him back from becoming what he could really be. Zoe's jump shot started looking more and more fluid once he got to New Orleans. In New Orleans, he'd continue to be himself, flashing huge upside alongside a young Brandon Ingram and Zion Williamson. The alley-oops to Zion in New Orleans were fun, But it wasn't until Zoe got to Chicago that everything felt perfect, and this is coming from a Pelicans fan. The Bulls needed a playmaker, a true point guard, a spacer, and somebody who was capable of taking the other team's best player out of games or at least giving them a challenge. And Zoe was all of these things. He was the glue to Chicago's very weird puzzle, taking them as high as the 1 seed in the Eastern Conference. It's dumb how good Zoe was shooting the ball for the Chicago Bulls. He was taking 7.4 threes a game and hitting 42.3% of them. He was shooting the ball better than some of the biggest names in shooting, like Stephen Curry, who finished that season shooting 38% from deep. All of this brings us to the question, what happened to Zoe and why haven't we seen him since January 14th, 2022? That day is the last day that we've seen Lonzo Ball in NBA action. It's well over a year later, and not only is Zoe not able to run, cut, or jump without feeling pain in his knee, but there has been massive confusion in general surrounding his injury. The Bulls flat out didn't know why he was still experiencing pain. Neither did his camp or the 6+ doctors that he had gotten opinions from. We'd see a video of Zoe dunking earlier this year.
Oh, a little. Okay.
But February 21st, the team would announce that he'd be out for the entire 22-23 season by releasing this statement. Despite making significant increases in strength and function over the past several months, Ball continues to experience performance-limiting discomfort during participation in high-level basketball-related activities. Considering the required time period to achieve the necessary level of fitness to return to play and the current stage of the NBA season, Ball will not return. The focus for Ball will continue to be on the resolution of his discomfort and a full return for the 2023-24 season. With all of this going on, Zoe tried to remain positive, saying that I can't focus on the negative right now. I mean, it's the longest I've ever been out. I've been playing basketball my whole life, so for me it's a lot. Especially just watching the guys every night and watching them go on planes and come back and stuff. And I'm always just watching practice. I feel like I've just got to stay positive and do what I can do to get on the court. A few weeks ago, it would be announced that Zoe would need a 3rd surgery that is expected to cost him all of the upcoming season, and that there are concerns about his ability to resume his career, period. Though this news initially seems terrible, there is optimism with Ball's camp that this surgery will be exactly what is needed to revive his career. Yet again, we have Lonzo Ball being placed in another impossible situation and being asked to defy the odds. With this surgery, Zoe is aiming to become the first ever NBA player to return from cartilage transplant surgery. I've seen injuries take too many careers. I really don't want to see them take the career of Lonzo Ball. It sucks that this guy is only 25 years old and he has this pain that he has not been able to get rid of. Paul George had a very interesting take on why players in today's game are so injured despite resting more than ever. He said that teams don't really practice. You know, we're not getting up and down. They think by giving us time off, it's helped managing our bodies, but it's really making us weaker as players. Stan Van Gundy co-signed this if it matters for anything. To me, it's an interesting theory if nothing else. You add in that with the ridiculous amount of miles that AAU basketball has put on these players, and then you really do have a recipe for disaster. I remember as a kid/teenager that I was routinely playing 3 to 4 games a day and thinking nothing of it. And looking back on it, I think 3 to 4 games in a day might be underselling it. I don't know. I just know it didn't matter to me at the time. All that mattered was trying to get to that next level. While we're here discussing injuries, does anybody think that there's a link between the ankle injuries that Zoe and Melo have had? By the way, I'm not implying anything. I'm just genuinely curious to hear your takes here. Guys, in the comments below, let me know what you think of everything. Clicking the video on the screen right now is a great way to support my channel. I'm GetLikeCoop, bringing you guys the scoop until our next upload.